Welcome aboard, Trek enthusiasts, to another thrilling new episode of the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast. I'm your host, Captain Michael Burnham, and today I've assembled a fine crew to navigate through the final frontier of Star Trek Discovery. Joining me on this mission are my very special crew, who have all promised that they would each follow me to the 32nd century and each bring their own unique perspective and passion for the series. First of all, please welcome, it's a Discovery episode, and you knew you were going to hear her. She's a Discovery superfan. Please welcome constantly returning guest, Jordan La Fordan. Welcome.
Constantly returning. It makes me sound like a bad penny. I just keep coming back. Thank you.
I don't know why I've written it like that, but no, a regular recurring guest. And
Thank
always
you, Mike.
welcome. You're very welcome. And yeah, happy to talk Discovery, I assume?
Always happy to talk Discovery.
It's not a top 10 characters, unfortunately, because I think we'd know who your top 2 would be. But other than that,
You're right. No one would even want to listen because they'd already know my answers.
We'll see how many Ash Tyler episodes make it into your list, I suppose.
Oh.
Joining myself and Jordan, another returning guest who you've heard on a couple of occasions throughout the two podcasts from Sci-Fi Queen's podcast. Please welcome Nita. Welcome back, Nita.
Oh, it's wonderful to be back. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about talking about Discovery. Such a good show.
Absolutely. We're all fans here. Rounding out the crew, a slightly less recurring crew member, but someone who has been on before. Please welcome our final guest, Justin. Welcome back, Justin.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you back again. And so we're all ready. We've got our lists ready to talk all things Discovery. So in this special episode, we're boldly going where no podcast has gone before, hopefully, by debating the top 10 episodes of Star Trek Discovery. Each of our esteemed crew members will present their personal top 10 list, counting down from 10 to 1. We'll hopefully give a little bit of a dive into the plots, character arcs, and standout moments that make each episode unforgettable. Once we've heard all the lists, we'll face our toughest challenge yet, forming an overall top 10 that reflects the best of the best. Will we reach a consensus, or will our views clash like the Federation and the Klingons? Engage your warp drive for Black Alert as we embark on this epic discussion, and let's fly. Just to clarify what that all means, basically, I'm going to go around each of us one by one and ask for our number 10, then our number 9, number 8, right the way through to number 1. I'll assign points value depending on where it goes, so that if the episode is number 10 on your list, it will get 1 point. Number 9 will get 2, right the way to the number 1 will get the full 10 points. Hopefully from there we'll have a point total together and come up with a final top 10 when I crunch the numbers at the end, at which point Jordan will be reading out our audience response while I'm busy doing that.
Reading it out and judging everyone.
I think they're all pretty much positive and they're all good choices, I hope. That's how we're going to be doing that. And we're going to do a little bit differently from our usual top 10s, because I've decided, instead of repeating ourselves all the time, if an episode comes up and it's my, say number 9, but it's somewhere on your list a bit higher, we'll just mention, it's on my list, it's this number, and this is why, and we can talk about that episode, all in one go, rather than splitting it up potentially 4 times if it's on everybody's list, just because it makes more sense to do it that way. We'll still assign the scores later at the end. So before we get started with the actual numbers, though, when we do top 10 lists, if you've listened, you'll know we always do our honorable mentions to start with. Now, I don't have any, I'll be honest, because I made a very precise list and was kind of very strict with myself, so I don't really have anything, but I do know it's hard to make these lists, and you guys might have episodes that didn't quite make the top 10. So I'll start with you, Jordan. Did you have anything you wanted to give an honorable mention to?
All 55 episodes that I'm not going to talk about? I'm just kidding. Well, I said before we started recording that I hadn't decided on my number 10 yet. It was between 2, so I feel like now I have to decide.
This is you on the spot.
This is it. So I do have 4 honorable mentions. One is Whistle Speak from season 5, which if that's on anybody's list, I hope we get to deep dive into it. One is The Red Angel from season 2, and then Stormy Weather from season 3. That was painful to not put on my top 10 list. Now the Moment of Truth, which is going to be an honorable mention and going to be number 10.
Eeny meeny.
I'm gonna say Brother is the premiere from season 2 is my last honorable mention.
Ooh, so that just misses out on the list.
It does, which is again very painful for me. So those are ones I want to give a special shout out to. I'm sad they didn't make my list, but I'm hoping that at least one of them is on somebody else's list so we can talk about it.
Weirdly enough, you've made me doubt myself, because a couple of those are things that almost made my list and didn't quite. Definitely Brother, I think, would have been my number 11 or 12.
That is, I will say, that is my top comfort episode. Like when I've had a bad day and I just need to sit down and watch a Star Trek episode that I love, I typically turn on Brother. So I'm sad it's not in my top 10, but it has that special place in my heart.
The reason it loses out for me is just because I really don't like the whole. It gets a bit silly, the sequence with the escape pod things that are all shooting out of the ship at all angles and stuff. Like, it's fun, but it really is quite silly. So
I love that scene, and I love when Connolly dies. Just gonna say it.
Harsh, but probably fair. Okay. So yeah, what about you, Justin? I'll come to you next. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I had a week to put this together. I don't have any honorable mentions. I probably should. Certainly, there was lots to watch.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a lot to get through, and I'm sure, as I said, as we hear others that might not have made our list, we might end up going, "Oh, crumbs, we should have thought of that," or "Oh, yeah, that is good." But I don't think there's anything we really hate in Discovery. Hopefully not. Anyway, I mean, there's things we like less than other things. That's always going to be part of the course, isn't it? But yeah, that's cool. That's fair enough. What about you, Nita? Did you have anything you wanted to mention before the top 10?
Not any honorable mentions, because I really just focused on getting the ones that I wanted to talk about first. So okay. I didn't actually focus. I really try to concentrate on those 10 that I knew that I liked. And Discovery is so good. It's really hard to narrow down just 10. This was the hardest assignment. Okay. Really, you're like an evil professor. Okay. But if I had to off the cuff pick an honorable mention, Battle at the Binary Stars didn't make my list.
Yeah.
But I will honorably mention that one.
Yeah, that's another one that I probably would have classed. I'll get into this a bit later, but I would have classed that as a two-parter along with the Vulcan Hello. And again, it was close to my list because I do like it. But anyway, yeah. Speaking of that, as I say, just a little bit of housekeeping. It's we decided it would be up to each individual how they regard the two-parters in Discovery. I've chosen to class two-part stories as one thing, with the random exception in Discovery of That Hope Is You parts 1 and 2, which I don't class as a two-parter. So yeah, I classed them, I think, as one whole thing, and I think you did as well, Justin. Yeah.
Yes, I did.
You two ladies, you classed two-parters as single episodes each, though. Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, I am a rule follower, so yes.
Yes, I'm with her. I classified them separately because that's how they were listed. So
fair enough. I didn't want to make any.
You got to break the prime directive, you know.
Stretch the prime directive, just do it on break.
And that is as stretch as it gets. Okay. What section is that one in?
We wouldn't be stopping officers if we didn't, bend the rules a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, without any further ado, then I guess we'll jump straight into the top 10, starting from the bottom as we work our way up. I will go around, I think, in clockwise order, just from what's on my screen here, just because it's easier for me, because I'm getting old and I can't remember anything other than that. So I'll start with you, Nita, and ask what was your number 10? I'll put you on the spot. Which one do you want to give just 1 point to?
The Vulcan Hello would be my number 10. I really enjoyed that episode a lot.
Great. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's the very first episode, the kind of pilot of the show, yeah?
Yes. It really gave you so much information that you needed. The new style that they're using now of writing, they really, really, really did a good job. I come from Star Trek or other shows having 22 plus episodes a season. So the writing style does change, and you can definitely see it if you watch Deep Space Nine versus, Discovery. You can see there's more in these episodes that they're writing for the shorter amount of episodes per season. And I think they did a good job because they had a lot going on.
Yeah, it came up in one of our reviews for the Romulan series we just finished. My friend Stephen, who's watched all of Trek, kind of like we've been friends for years and we've watched it together and everything. And we went back to review an original series episode, and he said that looking at that now, you really do feel the difference in pacing from the 60s writing to the modern stuff, So yeah, I absolutely see your point with that. Yeah. So did anyone else have the Vulcan Hello on the list? I did say it just missed out on mine. So
that was my number 10 as well, Nita.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's because we're besties now.
Exactly. Yeah. For the last, since 10 minutes ago, we have been best friends.
Yes, we're best friends forever.
Yes.
Okay? Like Tindy. Tindy doesn't need a lot of time to love you.
Exactly.
That's what's happening here.
Exactly.
We're besties.
You couldn't be Tilly and Burnham. That would have been a lot more sense.
No, they needed some time to become.
Oh yeah, Burnham would have normally punched Tilly in the face. She didn't. She just knew that she didn't want to go back to prison. Okay, that's what she didn't punch her.
Being friends with her, it's like trying to be friends with a cracker.
So yeah. What reasons did you have for putting it on your list then, Jordan? Other than
Delta has it on their like in-flight TV.
Right.
So anytime I fly, I watch like the first 1 to 3 episodes of Discovery because that's all they have on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just breathtaking, all of it. It's so new and it's so exciting and it's gorgeous. I love the ships. I love how diverse the bridge crew of the Shenzhou is. I personally love the Klingons. And I think that they feel so alien in the best way, but they still feel like Klingons to me. I love the high stakes. I love the kind of cliffhangery nature. I know you kind of consider it a two-parter with Battle of Binary Stars, but I love how cliffhangery it is. I love the banter with Michael and Saru. Like you get their dynamic right away. You get to see my girl Kayla Detmer early on, which is exciting. Free augmentation. Yeah, I mean, I love Captain Georgiou. We don't get much with her, but she's one of my favorite Star Trek or Starfleet captains of all time. So there's so much I can say about this episode. I adore it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't disagree with your points. I remember, I think I've said this on another podcast, or certainly I've said it in company with friends, that I remember being so disappointed with the design of Discovery because I just fell in love with the Shenzhou in those first 2 episodes, and I wanted that to be the ship that we were going to be on for the rest of the show. But I grew to love both in the end. But yeah,
one of the things though about that episode that I actually was instantly kind of captivated by is the title, because it's almost contradictory, right? Because a Vulcan hello, what do you think when you think of that? You think of, live long and prosper, and put the hands up with the fingers, right? But this is not what that was about. This was about throwing the first punch, because it was about showing power and authority to a race of people who respected that. Absolutely. And it is in fact logical. But that title was so misleading because I did not expect what we got.
Yeah, we've talked about the kind of ins and outs of that because when we reviewed the opening 2 episodes, which we do have on the channel, we got into the, would it have been any good? Would the preemptive strike have worked? Is Burnham to blame, or the Klingons just, were a force to be stopped by anyone, and etc. But there's so much to get into, but as I said, it just missed out on my list because, and I probably said it during the review, just because it was very jarring for me as a big kind of nerd to be kind of like, ooh, this does not look like pre-original series, and it took a long time for me to get past that hurdle in that first series. So I mean, once you do, it's fine, and watching the episode back now, it doesn't bother me half as much as it did. But at the time, I just got irked by every little use of like the hologram communications and the super advanced spaceships and things. But anyway, that's just me being dorky, I suppose. Any last thoughts then on the Vulcan hello before we move on?
Definitely, I have an alter opinion here. I didn't like the first 2 episodes.
Oh, okay.
I probably for the reasons you're saying, actually, because it was this very different departure, and they went a hard left on a lot of things. It was hard to swallow at the time. Watching it again, I very much feel like Enterprise, actually, all over again. Everybody hated on it to begin with, and then you watch it now, and it's amazing what they were doing, and it was really, really good direction for the show, I thought. But you didn't get that perspective till later. And I'm sort of coming around there with Discovery now for sure. So I don't dislike this episode as much as I did. But yeah, a lot of it
grew on you.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole series did. I didn't hate it, to be clear. I love all Trek. I always have. But it certainly wasn't my favorite to start. And it's really sort of shifted in that position since.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I think when I watched it for the review, I actually appreciated it a lot more. And I remember even watching at the time, I was like, even though I think this looks way more advanced than it should, I appreciate that it looks like feature film quality that we weren't used to. I adore like Voyager, but let's be honest, a lot of those effects are very knocked up in a MacBook Pro at times. So, but yeah. Anyway, I'll move us along then. So we've obviously had your number 10, Jordan, which you would have been the next one, but we know it. So there we go. So Justin, it's over to you. What was your number 10 for 1 point?
My number 10 was season 4, episode 12, Species 10C.
Oh, okay. Big one. What was the reasons for you putting Species 10C at the 1 point slot?
I pulled a quote out of it. They've achieved level 2 on the Kardashev scale, maybe beyond. It's like comparing a human to a monkey with a rock. And it's so nice to see Star Trek go here.
Yeah.
They always have this sort of bipedal alien of the week thing, and this is just beyond comprehension, this species. And the sort of science behind that and the thought that went into it was very like Close Encounters of the Third Kind almost, just
Mhm.
classic sci-fi, let alone classic Trek. And then you put in, all the political intrigue and everything that was going on, and the whole culmination of season 4. It was a great episode.
Yeah, I can see it being a very popular episode. I think with me, it was too bled in with all of the other episodes at the end of that season that I couldn't necessarily separate them. And if I was going to, it would have been the season 4 finale, I think, that just pushed it a little bit stronger. In the end, none of them are on the list, but all of your points are perfectly valid. I love that Star Trek, and I've seen from glancing at the audience response that a lot of people love that Star Trek did that kind of story, the kind of Close Encounters, Arrival, they're not at all like us and we have to find a way to communicate kind of thing. Does anybody else have it on this?
I do.
Oh, where is it on your list?
It's number 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. For a
That's
lot of the
happening.
reasons that Justin mentioned, I love first contact stories, and I love just how alien species 10C was. I loved figuring out how to communicate with them. And I felt like every character in that episode was at their absolute best. Not necessarily that they were I don't mean they were performing at their best, but I mean that character just was top notch. Tarina was amazing. President Rillick was amazing. Michael Burnham was amazing. Book was amazing. Everyone was just the epitome of their character in that episode. And I love that. I love how beautiful the episode is, especially shots of the 10C with all the lighting. Everything was just so well done.
Oh, absolutely. That is definitely worth a mention. Special effects for the communication parts. It's just, yeah.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's reminding me as well of a lot of, because I watch the Blu-ray sets as they come out, so I've just done kind of season 3 and 4 relatively recently, and yeah, Species 10C would have been one of the more recent ones I've watched, and you're reminding me of a lot of the better parts of it now as well, and it's yeah, it is really good actually. I knew it would be popular, so yeah, obviously it got 6 points from you if it's in your number 5 place. So.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what about you, Nita? Was it on your list, Species 10C?
It was not my list, but I love that episode for all the reasons you guys said, and because we got to see Tignatario, and I'm
Always
such
good.
a big fan, and I love the episodes that she's on.
Mhm.
I completely agree.
yeah.
Her episodes are phenomenal.
In my notes here for 10C, I have written Tignataro as a treasure. So
Absolutely,
Yeah.
she is.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. I am so thrilled to hear that she's going to be in Starfleet Academy. I
Me
was
too.
just so chuffed.
Oh,
Me too. I was so
100%.
excited.
I was very surprised and so excited.
Yep.
They need to get Tignatario a love interest. What do you guys think?
I like her being a bit crotchety and grumpy, but the kind of the she's the kind of grumpy,
crotchety and grumpy.
but she's the grumpy heart and soul that everyone goes to for advice.
Yeah, I think she needs a love interest as well.
Thank you. Yeah, she could be all those things
Yeah.
and still have a love interest.
Yeah, we got to
I
hear
thought
in
her-
season 2 about, her wife passing in
Exactly.
in the
She
war.
needs
I
love.
think she needs to find love again.
Yeah.
I thought her love interest was science.
No.
And I thought her love interest was sarcasm, but
And she can love all those things and
Sarcasm, science,
Yeah.
life with Soyusian,
Oh.
it's just all the S's.
Yes.
Cutting people
Awesome.
down to size, that's her professional ability.
absolutely. Any last thoughts then on the episode Species 10C before I give me my number 10?
No, I'm good.
Cool. Right, well, my number 10 then, I went with the episode There Is a Tide, which I just love because, and it's one main reason, and I'm not going to lie, it's a one big scene. You probably all know exactly what I'm on about, but it's the scene between Admiral Vance and Osira,
Yep.
just discussing the kind of finer points of morality between the Federation and the Emerald Chain. And, the immortal line, it doesn't taste bad for shit, and we don't have to commit atrocities for it. It's just... I remember hearing that and just my mind was blown by all of that. So I absolutely loved it. But the episode itself is no slouch. I mean, it's at the end of toward the end of a very tense season when everything's coming together. You've had, the bad guys right in your backyard. And yeah, these negotiations are a tense point, which I think Star Trek personally does negotiations and things like that really well. I know some people have an issue with it because they find it boring or they don't think, they'd rather have a bit of pew-pew ship fight type action. But I always love a tense negotiation between two great actors. And I think Oded Fair and Janet Kidder were just fantastic playing off each other on that, across that table as well. So did anyone else have There Is a Tide on their list?
I did not have that one, but that is a good episode. That's a really good episode.
Had it on my list.
Okay.
I'm not sure I want to say this, but it was my number one.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Awesome.
Wow, that's a big deal. So, well, I don't want to cut you off from talking about it, but the floor is yours. Why did it make your number one slot? I'm thrilled.
Well, so interesting enough is actually that line that you quoted. It's made of shit, the base material we use in our replicators, and like it was just so nice to see in Star Trek that they're finally going back to their technical manuals and explaining how things work. And, that's one of those things that I've known for forever, right?
Yes.
And you never see it on screen, right? Because who would talk about that? So that scene for sure. But I just, the negotiation scene you're talking about, it's one of the best negotiation scenes in Trek, in my opinion. And it's really watching these two characters interact and trying to figure out their motivations. So the first time I watched this episode, I was enthralled. I was sitting there and going like, okay, she's this horrible sociopath who's done all these terrible atrocities, but now she's here with peace and this offer, and like, what's the catch?
Yeah.
Keep waiting for it the whole episode, right? And of course, it does finally come with, oh no, I'm not going to take responsibility for my actions. That would be just weird.
Yeah,
and
of course. Like all the best dictators and despots, What I did was terrible, but I'm not going to turn myself in. What kind of idiot do you think I am?
Yeah, and I'm going to be the secret power behind all this because I just can't let go. Okay,
yeah, exactly.
So we finally got your character, but the other shoe I'd been waiting for since they got to the future was the other shoe to drop on Vance. Every admiral in Starfleet's evil, it seems like.
Yeah. Yep.
And here he is. He's just the most stand-up, amazing guy, and standing up for morals, and like he could take the easy route here. The full Federation could, because this is what they want. They want to get back together. They want to have peace and move forward, and they're offering all of it. But of course, for that one catch, and it's just so important that the Federation sticks to its ideals that he can't.
Yes.
Yeah. He would love to take the deal, and it would be everything they wanted. But nope, I'm sorry. We have rules, we have laws, there have order, and if you can't live in that, then you can't be a part of it.
Absolutely. And I think that the whole Bad Admiral thing ended because, like you said, his representation of admirals was phenomenal. I didn't see how anyone could classify him as, quote unquote, a bad admiral.
No, not at any point in the series.
I can't remember who it was that said this, so apologies if you're listening to this. But somebody, I think on one of the social medias, had said Star Trek went from Badmiral to Dadmiral.
Oh yeah!
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah,
he really is the dad of them all, in that way. And I appreciate that because, like you, for the first half of season 3, I was like, all right, when's the other shoe gonna drop? When's he gonna reveal what his actual motivation is? And nope, he's just out to help you in the end. And again, somebody else who's coming back in Starfleet Academy. So yay. Exciting times. Absolutely. Wow, I can't believe that was your number one. So apologies for making you talk about it a bit early, but I can't disagree with any of your reasons. I'm trying to think of, I maybe should have had it higher because I'm thinking if there's any reason that it's lower on my list, and the only thing is there's just 9 that I think I prefer personally. So I can't give you anything other.
I also need to mention the B plot in it because we had Burnham being John McClane essentially from Die Hard. As she's going through the ship and she's going to save her crew. But
that was the thing that rubbed me the wrong way. I think actually I hated the ending as well.
Well, it's it's funny because I was like, oh, of course Burnham's going to save the day, but at the end of the day, they saved her, right?
Yeah.
So it's that whole Starfleet lean on each other. Nobody's an island. Let's get this done together, sort of thing. I enjoyed it.
Fair enough. No, that's fantastic. That's cool. So, did anyone else have there as a tide on their list?
No.
Oh, fair enough. So it's my number 10, Justin's number 1, and nobody else has it.
But they're super good episodes, even if they didn't make our list.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't mean that we didn't like them, absolutely. It is currently in the lead with 11 points, by the way, since it was number 1.
I'll hold on to that for the next 20 seconds.
So, we'll go through and have hear everyone's number 9s then for 2 points. And again, we'll start with you, Nita. What was your number 9 episode?
My number 9 is on season 1, episode 7. Magic to make the sanest man go mad. I am a huge Mud fan, okay? Because I remember Mud from watching, Star Trek, the original series, okay?
Mm.
And in the original series, he was so goofy.
Yeah.
He was so ridiculous. But yet he had the ability to manipulate and be conniving and deceitful, but yet stay goofy. Okay.
Yeah.
Always his episodes are so funny in the TOS eras. I think they have like 2 or 3 of with him in it. So when they brought Mud into Star Trek Discovery, I absolutely loved it. And this episode is so on point with his TOS character. I could see him wanting to manipulate time to benefit him. And I do like episodes where they're kind of repeating themselves and someone is trying to remember the time. I thought they did such a fun job of this episode. This was definitely a fun episode to watch. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah. It was a hard cut for me. It's another one that would have been on my honorable mentions, but I do really like the episode. In the end, I just think I don't love how dark Rainn Wilson's Harry Mudd got compared to Roger C. Carmel, but it's a minor criticism because I still love the episode and I love that portrayal. Did anyone else have that episode on their list?
I did.
Me as well.
Really? Because we're besties.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
we'll start with you, Jordan. What number was it on your
It
list?
was number 7 for me.
Okay, so 4 points.
And just to add to what Nita said, I completely agree with her. And I love a good time loop episode, and I thought this was a fun way to go about a time loop. I'm a huge Paul Stamets fan, and so to see him get less grumpy was
true. Yes, that's
was
true,
very fun. I liked him finally connecting with Michael. We learned a lot more about Michael in this episode. I love the dance party scenes, and I love Ash Tyler, and so to finally to get that. Oh my gosh, I'm like, you guys, I swear I'm blushing just talking about this. I love Ash Tyler so much, and to get to see them dance, to see their first kiss, to see his little quip at the end in the turbo lift when he's like, I'm just sad I missed our first kiss. It just is so good. And I love the Gormagander. I love Tilly in this episode. I love Lorca in this episode.
How much did you love Drunk Tilly?
Oh my gosh, so funny. I'm kind of in a musician phase right now. And then to be like, oh, my soldier phase is back. Very relatable because my soldier phase came back when I saw Ash Tyler.
Good God.
Anyway, so yes, it was number 7 for me.
Awesome. What about you, Justin?
Not to spoil it, but it's actually my highest ranked season 1 episode as well.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Cool.
It was my number 3.
Wow, okay. So 8 points from you. Turns out you were absolutely right, because that is now the current number one. Sorry, there is a tide. So yeah, well, why did you have it as high as number 3? That's fantastic for it.
So, one of my favorite quotes out of the whole series, again, was out of this episode. There are really so many ways to blow up the ship. It's almost a design flaw. Thank you. It's time somebody said it. It's just a great classic Trek episode. It's all in itself. The Gormagander, like you mentioned with the science, and then the callback to cause and effect. Yeah, no, it's definitely fun, and I thought Rainn Wilson was excellent as Mud. I thought he just nailed it. And then, at the very end with the sort of turning it back around on him without actually, punishing him, but not punishing him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
It was beautiful. It was a beautiful episode.
Yes, absolutely.
I have to say that was my favorite part because I'm a massive TOS nerd. So when they revealed that it was actually Stella that was coming to get him, I was like, oh, I love this callback.
Yes, and that's what I love about this episode, that it really reached out to the very beginnings of Star Trek.
Yeah.
People can say what they want about the TOS series, but the fact is we wouldn't have any Star Trek. It had to start somewhere, and it started with them. Yeah. And all these fabulous characters that writers are rewriting and expanding on, that come from the TOS era, to see them alive and kind of mature, growing. Mud was portrayed very goofy in the TOS era, but he was a really deceitful and conniving and manipulative.
Yeah,
So
he's a
the
bad
fact that
guy.
he was an all around bad guy. So this actor, the way he portrayed it in Discovery, I feel like really captured the essence of the true character of Mud while still staying tiny bit on the goofy side of things because
Yeah.
he is funny.
I have to say it was a very different performance than what I was used to because I only knew Rainn Wilson primarily as Dwight from The Office. So seeing him as this other character was very like, oh, okay, wow. But yeah, I have to say, quick shout out if anybody hasn't seen it. By the way, talking of Rainn Wilson as Harry Mudd, I think his best performance is actually in the short trek, The Escape Artist, which I know there are still a lot of people that haven't seen the short treks, and I do have to say they are more good than bad, shall we say? But the good ones are really good, and yeah, that's one I wanted to shout out. And it just occurred to me, does anybody have any of the short treks on their list? Because there are a few Discovery-based ones.
No, I didn't include any.
No,
No,
I didn't
because
even
I thought
think.
we were only focusing on the series.
Yeah, no, likewise. But if I had thought about it, I would probably have put Calypso at the very least on the list.
That's a whole
Because I
different
love
podcast for you to do right there.
Absolutely. I mean, there's not that many short treks. I mean, a top 10 out of about 12 episodes wouldn't be all that exciting, but still.
It's
Yeah,
more of a list.
shout out to Calypso, especially if you're a fan of the season 5 finale, because it ties in quite heavily. But yeah, moving on. So that was your number 9, Nita. So your number 9, please, Jordan, if you don't mind, for 2 points.
Yeah, my number 9 is from season 5, Face the Strange.
Oh, that was another really tough cut for me. I almost put it in there, but yeah, didn't love season 5 overall, and I couldn't quite justify it. So what did you like about Face the Strange? I do know the episode you're talking about, the whole time jumping back to other points in Discovery's history. Is that the one?
Yeah, yep, that one.
Yay.
I mean, I love getting to jump to, different parts of Discovery's history. I liked seeing Discovery at the shipyard. I thought that was that was really cool. I love the character building for Raynor and how he and Burnham are actually able to connect and build their rapport. I loved Burnham getting to kind of reconcile where she's come from and how far she's come, being able to see that, celebrate that, but also both like emotionally and physically wrestle with that. Yeah, getting to fight herself. And I'll talk about this again, spoiler alert. I'll talk about this a little bit later in my list. But the only character in Discovery who I might love more than Ash Tyler is Ariam. And
yes,
so
you said that before.
Getting to see her on screen again was the most, like, it was the biggest gift to me personally. I never thought we'd get to see her on screen again. And I love that the writers had Michael deal with that loss on screen, because Ariam's briefly mentioned in season 3, she's briefly mentioned in season 4, but it seemed to be for both Michael and Commander Non as well, just a really shaping loss. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
a loss
like an impactful loss.
That has shaped Michael, and so to have her get to interact with Ariam again. And yeah, I love Ariam's choice at the end, just how she handled herself in that situation. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can't wait to go watch that episode again.
Awesome. Yeah, I see what you mean, because I have without spoiling what it is, I have a thing coming up later on where I think Burnham is really good as a character when she realizes she can't just win everything and take everything away, flawlessly. So it's when she has to deal with even the slightest loss or, a 90% victory without being able to do that. I feel like it speaks a lot more to her character than just like, oh, I've created a bit of magic and saved everyone kind of thing. It always does. But again, that's that's getting into a future episode for me. So let's see. Did anyone else have Face the Strange on their list?
I did.
Oh, what was it?
It's on my top 3.
What number?
3.
Okay, so that's 8 points. Okay. And why did you have it so high? That's very high.
I absolutely love time jumps episodes, and they have to be done really well because you can really screw things up. I think they did a fantastic job. They brought back characters we hadn't seen before, and the fighting with younger Burnham and older Burnham, being a captain, seeing herself in the future, her reaction was so spot on because if I'm a mutineer, the last thing on my mind is that I'm going to become captain. one day.
True. Yeah.
That is just not something that I can see. So her reaction was so true to the situation, and I thought she executed that so well. I thought that seeing the relationship between Captain Burnham and her number one really developing during this situation was so well done, and I really enjoyed watching that episode. It really had me kind of captivated. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I did like Raina, I think, in season 5. I'm looking forward to rewatching because I have the Blu-ray set ordered for a couple of weeks when it comes out. So I'm looking forward to rewatching it, and Divorced of Expectation probably will appreciate it a little bit more. So if you're wondering why there's not much season 5, it's because I've only watched it once. So there we go. Yeah, did you have Face the Strange on your list, Justin?
I did not, but I do agree with everything that's been said. It's probably would have been one of my honorable mentions had I put a list of those together.
Fair enough.
Oh, and just to add, if you guys like Tig Notaro, she's an absolute hoot with Stamets in that episode.
Absolutely,
yeah, just a really good scene with those two.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah, as
I absolutely agree.
The reason I didn't make my list was that it was just basically a remake of the Voyager episode Shattered, which I think did it better. We were on everybody's number 9s, so I believe we were up to yours, Justin.
Yes. So my number 9 was season 5, episode 10, Life Itself.
Oh, okay. That's the big season finale.
The big series finale.
Series finale, I should say. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and actually that was why it made my list. It all in itself, it's not the best episode of the series for sure, but it is actually, in my opinion, one of the best series finales. You know, especially since we get so many or a few series anyway, that haven't even got a finale, right? But yeah, I just like the wrap up. I like the job they did. You know, it was clear they didn't want to stop there.
No.
But they did a good job of sort of bringing everything together and leaving the possibility open of more.
And as you say, leaving it open for Starfleet Academy in that era, which I think was an interesting and kind of a necessary thing as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so I really liked it as a series wrap, and you know, it was a pretty good episode. Maybe not the best, but I thought it was pretty good.
Cool. I'll chime in and say here that was my number 7. So it was on my list. For pretty much, I have almost word for word what you said. Like, I think it is probably one of, if not my favorite, of the Trek finales because it is the best at doing what it sets out to do. I always said during season 5, it was weird that they didn't realize it was their final season because a lot of it kind of plays like it is. Like they're doing the biggest possible thing at trying to find the creator of all things, you know. And then at the end, I really love the ending where they realize, like, no, this isn't meant for us. We're best off out of it. There's a higher power than even what we know, and it's best we don't know about it, kind of thing. So I loved how all that wrapped up. And then, as I said, because I'm a huge fan of the short Trek Calypso, that last kind of 20 minutes where it all tied back into it just immediately won me over. I was like, I'm so thrilled you actually acknowledged this, even though you don't technically explain why the ship needs to defit itself and go back to the original configuration. I don't care. You know, they got away with it by saying it's a red directive mission. It's got to be like this. Don't worry about it. You know, so I appreciated at least getting that much for it. And like, yeah, it now ties in perfectly in a little bow. My autistic nerdy mind was like, yay, now it makes all sense. Although I am incredibly annoyed that Calypso isn't included on the season 5 Blu-ray set, because I think how you can have that finale without that episode is just nonsense. But anyway, so yeah, I loved all of that, and I loved everybody's character. I think got a little bit of a last moment to shine, except the ones that potentially we're going to see again. You know, Saru's wedding was a beautiful moment to kind of end his story on. It was nice to see Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot the big reveal too.
The whole Kovich Daniels thing.
Yes. Like it's not very often I get mentioned in Trek at all, so you know.
Yes, Daniels, absolutely. It took me a second there to register, but yeah, no, I loved that reveal. Again, I get the feeling it was potentially a bit divisive, but I just loved it. It was a nice little nod back to, you know, Trek history. And, you know, now we can officially say that Matt Winston and David Cronenberg are the same person. Come on. Yeah, no, I loved all of that. Like I said, I can't be here all day. I appreciated that we got to see the kind of lower ranking bridge crew. I didn't appreciate that we didn't see them throughout the rest of season 5, but I did like that we at least got to see them one last time in the finale. And you've got to do the traditional Trek, I'm now an Admiral Future Flash, which again, I appreciated the kind of them sticking with that and doing that bit of tradition. So yeah, that was why it was on my list at number 7. So did anyone else have Life Itself on their list?
I did.
Oh, where was it?
Number 1.
Oh, no, I had a feeling it was going to be somebody's number 1.
I thought it was one of the best finales I have ever seen. I thought it really brought closure to the characters and really told you what lied ahead for them. I love that she found happiness and has this child that now he's all grown and so cute. I absolutely love that her and Book were able to really make amends and get back together. I thought he was good for her and she was good for him, and they really worked well together. I thought that bringing the crew back together, seeing where they were at, kind of brought all that, the episodes together, and it made it so worthwhile in their lives. And I really liked the finale, seeing that future possibility for them. I thought it was great, and that's why it was my number 1.
Yeah, awesome. I should have said, by the way, another good and bad thing that I think I said at the time and maybe during one of our other episodes is, how come it took until the very end of 5 years and multiple uniforms till we got the very best one and we saw it for like 5 minutes?
I know, right? What a great uniform.
It's fantastic. Anyway, that's such a nerdy nitpick. So Jordan, I almost feel bad asking, but was it on your list?
It was not on my list. I do love
it
for all of the reasons that you said, but it was not on my list.
I am shocked, I'll be honest. I thought it would make your list. Was that just because you were bitter because it's an ending?
No, there were episodes that one of my criteria was was rewatch value for me. And it's one that I would go to other episodes in season 5 before I would go to that one, even though I loved it a lot.
Fair
enough.
I
can agree with that, having just rewatched it literally this morning. It was a slog the second time. The first time it was great, but once you've seen it and you know all how it's going, it was a little it was slow.
Yeah, I would imagine the stuff on the kind of whatever you call the sphere device, whatever terraformer thing. I would imagine some of that gets really slow because it did seem like a lot of running around on platforms in the middle there.
Goodness, anyway. How visually beautiful was that episode?
Oh, completely. I mean, yeah, gorgeous. Although it did my fear of heights no favors when it was like just open a chute to a huge like planet-sized field and drop you in it. Oh Jesus! Oh no, thank you. Yeah. Anyway, cool. So my number 9 then, to move us along for 2 points, I picked the season 1 episode Lethe. As I said, I am a huge original series nerd and Star Trek lore nerd, and the fact that this was the episode for me that kind of, despite all of the sort of canon inconsistencies that people will complain about and the visual changes and whatever else, this was the episode that confirmed to me that Discovery did respect Star Trek sort of lore and was planning to build on it, because it finally revealed more about the Spock-Sarek feud that we'd known about for 50, 60 years. And I loved the wrinkle of that the reasoning behind it was that he picked Spock over Burnham for a place in the Science Academy, which then Spock rejected. It adds so much extra layers of depth as to why Sarek would be bitter about that without him just coming across as a bit of a dick, which it previously kind of had done. Whilst also, it fits both the characters of Spock and Burnham, perfectly well as well. And I just love flashback episodes that embrace this sort of story that's known and enrich the characters and build out those a little bit. So that was the main thing. I don't recall if there was a B-plot in the episode. I didn't have time to look that up, but certainly that was the stuff that stuck with me, was the flashback stuff to Vulcan. Can't remember. I think that might also be the episode where you see a little bit of them like trapped in a Klingon prison or something, but I wouldn't like to plant my flag on that and say so. So anyway, that was why it got 2 points from me. So did anyone else have Lethe on their list?
I did not have that on the list, but it is definitely an honorable mention if I had thought about it. But that's a really good episode.
Fair enough. Justin and Jordan, no?
So actually, when I made the list, that was one of the very first episodes I watched, and it started on my list, and it got dropped.
Okay. Oh, so, okay.
Yeah.
Honorable mention for sure.
It's pretty actually low on my overall list, actually. Okay. It's not an episode that I enjoy that much, but I will say we get some great Ash Tyler content. So
Ooh.
There you go. You see, now, That justified myself all the more then. I mean, it did only come in my number 9, to be fair.
And you
but
get
yeah,
like
fair enough.
Lorca being kind of creepy and jealous, which I
Yeah,
don't
that's
love,
true.
but I'm like, that's
It's kind of his character, though, isn't it? So
yeah, it's
yeah.
like some early clues. Well, some maybe not too early, but earlier clues of something being off with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So we'll go around for the number 8 then. And again, Nita, we're back to you. What's your number 8 for 3 points?
Alrighty, season 2, episode 2, New Eden. I
Oh.
absolutely love the mystery that they're faced with these, humans in a planet that humans shouldn't be anywhere near. I love it. I love the fact that Pike is with them.
Mhm.
I'm a big Pike fan. I love the fact that they encounter this race, they encounter these humans, and it getting them closer and closer to who that Red Angel is, and more information is being given. And I love the fact that they still respect, the Prime Directive, even though they're humans. They still respect the Prime Directive. And I love Pike's interpretation of the Prime Directive in this episode, and I thought it was really a interesting episode. The technology that the old technology they were looking at, and then the inhabitants looking at, the young man looking at all this new technology and how it affected their society. I thought it was a fantastic episode.
Okay, yeah. It's another one that I like a lot, but didn't quite make my list. But again, I can't put my finger on why, other than there was just other episodes I liked better. But I remember at the time thinking this is a very traditional Star Trek episode in Discovery, a show that's all about like the ongoing story. It seemed like the one of the more standalone, I guess, episodes, even though it does tie into the Red Angel stuff. So it's not on my list anyway. Apologies. What about you two, Justin and Jordan? Is it on your list at all?
No, it's not on mine.
No, I think it should have been one of my honorable mentions, but I didn't list it earlier. So
Okay.
I
We can always-
really enjoy it, and I hope that Pike in Strange New Worlds keeps his promise that he will see Jacob again. I would really love for him to somehow revisit that.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
That would be nice, because it was a good episode and it was very heartwarming and nice, I think. But it was just, I think that's the problem. It didn't quite hit that next level. It was just pleasant, perhaps. But yeah, fair enough. So then, your number 8, Jordan, if we haven't had it yet.
Yeah, we have not. So my number 8 is from season 3. It is Forget Me Not.
Okay.
Mhm.
That big episode where they go to Trill.
That is the episode where they go to Trill. I love trying the whole everything in the caves, where they are the caves of Makala, where they're trying to reconnect Adira and with Tal, essentially. I absolutely love the flashbacks with Gray, even though they're so heartwarming and endearing, but then devastating. I love Adira just like pushing through their fear and their grief to make this connection that they have to make. I love the like, I don't love in like it's a good thing, but I think it's really interesting that kind of love for kind of the xenophobia of the Trill, how they're just like scandalized that a human has the symbiote, and so
which is weird because it's happened before.
but that was a very temporary thing, and so especially after the burn, where
that's true.
They lost so many potential hosts and so many symbionts that it's become even rarer, and to see, I think, just a lot of jealousy from them that they're grateful that the symbiote is still alive, but they want to get it out of the human as soon as possible. So I just really love that episode. Again, it's visually stunning. Musically, it's phenomenal. I'm a big Jeff Russo fan, and he does a great job in that episode. So yeah, it's one that I go back to over and over again.
Awesome. So is it on anyone else's list? Forget Me Not?
It's not on my list, but I absolutely love the symbiont storyline. But I always was disappointed that they didn't use Dax.
Yeah, they could have.
It would have been phenomenal to use Dax.
Yeah, because they're leaning into that by using the holographic Doctor in Starfleet Academy. So if you have a character that could technically live that long, then I suppose make use of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the symbionts that survives, not the person. So the symbiont could have been Khan, it could have been Dax, it could have been so many ones that we've heard of and knew. And I think Dax would have been the more famous one.
That's fair enough. Did it make your list, Justin?
It did not, but I did watch this one all the way through this
okay.
week. And, so again, it probably ended up being an honorable mention for me. I disagree on the Dax thing, though, I have to say. I love Dax's character, but I think it was just, a good chance to do a break. And, I thought it was well taken. It's honoring the old, but doing something new, not limiting itself that way.
Yeah, I can certainly see both points of view. It didn't make my list, by the way. The episode I don't know why it just never connected with me. I'm not super fond of the Trill sort of stuff anyway, just because no particular reason. I just don't really like any of that kind of stuff. I do like the occasional bit of it in DS9, but I never thought Discovery really leaned into it enough. I would have liked to know why it was that Adira was able to sort of host the symbiont and there was no problems, and delve a little bit more into the kind of psychological effects on the human mind of having all of these different hosts. But I don't think Discovery probably did enough with that. And I just like a lot of the episodes surrounding that one more, I think. So anyway.
I would be remiss, and all of my Mastodon friends already know this if they're listening. Guardian Z, his arms, impeccable.
I weirdly see what you mean, actually.
I have brought this up so many times. That man is always sleeveless, and thank the powers
It's
that he
true.
is.
Yes, he should be.
Yeah, he's stirring the pools and the caves in Makala, and they have done him so many favors. Goodness gracious.
Just imagining them walking into the caves of Makala and him giving some epic, profound speech of welcome, this is a sacred place, and you have 2 tickets to the gun show.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
That would be epic. That would be epic.
So that was your number 8, was that right, Jordan? So,
yes, that was number 8 for me.
Awesome. So what was your number 8, Justin?
Number 8. It's actually was season 1, episode 3. Context is for Kings.
Oh wow, okay. That's not one I would have thought of, but okay. Why was it on your list that high? 3 points.
I actually wrote something about this one because I had pretty deep thought about it, I guess, maybe. So I'm just going to read it. So the quote, universal law is for lackeys, context is for kings. That's Lorca, and when he's talking to Burnham. But he says that, and to me, Lorca showing how Starfleet he is by congratulating Burnham on her mutiny. Initially, I thought there was sometimes the Prime Directive can be understandably broken moment. With later knowledge of Lorca, it puts this line in a much darker place, believing you're above such things. And the line about context seemed like a pragmatic approach to Starfleet rules at the time. It suggests that the reality of situations can justify actions that would otherwise be unacceptable. And this aligns with the notion that in extreme circumstances, principles like the Prime Directive can be bent or broken for the greater good. But it takes a much darker connotation. It reveals his underlying belief he is above Starfleet's moral and ethical guidelines, placing him in a position to decide what is right based on his own desires or goals. And that attitude, that context, allows him to disregard universal principles, contrast sharply with the values of Starfleet, where the greater good and adherence to their core principles are supposed to guide actions, even in the most difficult situations. And Lorca's approval of Burnham's mutiny isn't about recognizing the necessity of difficult choices. It's about celebrating a break from Starfleet's ethos and a subtle but just unbelievably well-written hint about his self-serving and authoritarian nature, foreshadowing for later.
Definitely.
I watched this episode and I saw that line and I was just, I had a moment, I guess. Just this wow. So the first time I watched it, I didn't want Lorca to be bad. So I gave him the good light on everything. And then when you start looking at it through the series, it was right from the beginning that there was this unease about him and what is it, but he's in this horrible situation and doing the best he can. No, he's in this horrible situation and he's making it worse. It just put the whole first season into a different light, that I didn't see the first time, and it was just such excellent writing.
Definitely.
So yeah,
I was going to say, I think it also ties into that's the episode. It's the first episode we see Discovery, but it's also when they discover the tardigrade, and I think it feeds into what's going to happen with regard to, okay, this is a sentient life form, but I don't care. We need to basically torture it because that can get the spore drive working, and it's the greater good kind of thing. Which again, if you kind of sense that that's coming from Lorca, it's a bit of a hint of not the nicest bloke, maybe, Yeah. Anyway, didn't quite make my list, I have to say, but. Am I right about that, by the way? Or was that the other episode I'm thinking of? I could be thinking of the
Well, they discover Ripper, but they don't. It ends with them bringing Ripper to Discovery.
Yeah, it's a later episode.
I think you're thinking of the Butcher Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry, Mike.
Possibly, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I
like I
think
said, those
so,
early
yeah.
season 1 episodes took a lot out of me to kind of come around to the storytelling the show was doing and the nature of how it was presenting it. But yeah, fair enough. If it's your number 8, it gets 3 points. So was it on anyone else's list?
It was not on my list.
But I do love that
Fair
episode.
enough.
Yes,
Fair
I love
enough.
that episode for the very reasons that he said. It really brings to light that all of the red flags of Lorca were always there.
Absolutely. Cool.
And I
I'll go on
love
to-
seeing Star Trek do horror, and I feel like that's a really horror inspired episode. So it was done very well.
That's what I
Yes.
thought. Yeah, I'm probably blending the two in my mind, but I remember a lot of kind of dark corridors and the tardigrade being like an unseen thing that was attacking
Yeah,
them.
and like
Absolutely.
the crew of the Glen being all like their
Yeah.
spines and bones being all twisted. Ugh.
Yeah, being a very what we got back didn't live long situation. Anyway, if you know, you know. Cool. Well, I'll give you my number 8 then. It is season 3, episode 2, Far From Home. The episode in which the Discovery crashes, JoJo badasses, and the bad guys just keep giving sus. So, as I've put here. So yeah, I really like that episode because it was the first chance to see how the rest of the crew would interact with the 32nd century. Because That Hope Is You Part 1 had been the season premiere, but that only dealt with Burnham, which, if you like that, fine. But I was kind of curious to see Discovery get to the future. And when it did, I liked that it wasn't just a smooth sailing. It was like it immediately crashed, basically, on this planet full of, slightly backward savage people that didn't like the Federation. And I love the moral complexity of the episode where you have, and I can never remember this chap's name because it's quite similar to other people's. Oh, the guy who's a bit of a jerk, basically.
Zara.
You probably know Zara. That's it. But it's felt like
The person that I was
Z-A-R-E.
convinced was played by David Arquette for a while.
I think the actor's actually
Really?
from like Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah,
Sons of
he just
Anarchy
like kind of looked like David Arquette, but I was like, is that David Arquette?
If he had done some wrestling, you would have known it was him, but no, it wasn't. But no, I like that. I don't like that character, but I like that he gives that dilemma of like, how do you stand up against that when all you've got are kind of morals? And that was an interesting place where you could plug in Emperor Giorgio and why her presence was kind of necessary to stand up for them in that way, but also show her kind of, I guess, move towards the light side of the Force in some way. Yeah, I liked Saru and Tilly's interactions and the way he was like, we're making a first impression. Nobody makes a better first impression than you. The struggle to get back into space from their crash landing. Yeah, everything really. The life form that was giving them the ticking clock because it was eating the ship. And again, that cool ending where they finally do encounter Burnham and find out, oh, it's actually been like a year. We didn't arrive at the same time. So yeah, that was why it made my number 8 and got 3 points from me. Anyone else have that on their list?
Nope.
No.
No, it's just me that.
Would have been an honorable mention for me again as well, though, because that is another one I watched through.
Cool. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
I do really love that it kicks off one of my favorite subplots of season 3, which is Kayla Detmer's PTSD.
Oh yeah. of course,
I
yeah.
love that it kind of kicks off that storyline for her.
Yeah, because she did crash the ship in fairness.
She landed the ship, but yes, crash
That's
landed the
also
ship.
true. Yeah. I'm a sucker for any kind of cool looking crash landings, though. It reminded me of the Voyager episode Timeless, where that also crashes in the snow.
Oh yeah,
Anyway.
I was curious at the time if that was like a callback Easter egg when I saw that, So absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So we'll move to everyone's number 7 then. And again, Nita, we're up with you first. So you're number 7 for 4 points.
Brother.
Oh, it
On
did make someone's list.
Season 2, episode 1.
I think.
I did enjoy they bring in Pike, first of all. Okay, this is the episode they bring in Pike, the new uniforms, and how kind of the Discovery crew looks at the uniforms that they're using now, and they're kind of trying it on with the Enterprise crew, and that interaction with them, and the fact that she has to find out that her brother isn't on the ship. And she was expecting to see him and probably preparing herself emotionally to see him. And he just wasn't there. I like that episode a lot.
Yeah, well, we've already talked about it, myself and Jordan's. Justin,
Yes.
did you have that on your list at all?
I did not. Don't have a lot to say that hasn't already been said.
Cool. Well, that's fair enough. We'll just move on then for the sake of time. Unless, did you have anything else you wanted to shout out for it, Nita?
Oh, no, that's it. I'm sorry. I when you asked who had on the list, I wasn't looking at my list and didn't realize it was my next one, so I apologize.
Oh no, that's
for
fine.
that.
It was because it was an honourable mention, so I don't think I asked. But that's fine. We
Mhm.
mentioned why it wasn't quite on our list, myself and Jordan. But it was in both cases. I think it would have been an honourable mention. So we
Yeah.
like it, but it didn't quite make the cut. But you know,
Right.
it got 4 points.
I will say when Michael gets the like thing through her thigh and then sees the Red Angel for the first time,
Ooh,
I was beside myself. I was instantly hooked into the Red Angel mystery. Oh my word.
Thought you were going to
Yes,
say you were
me
impressed
too.
with Burnham's thighs or something there. The amount you've been
No, I mean, I
luxurious
know
about
I
it
just
all.
talked about Guardians Z's arms, but there's more to me than just like loving people's body parts. That is not a sentence I ever thought I would say on a podcast.
You know, I blame the boys, so don't worry about it. I got your back.
Oh yeah,
I knew it was
yeah,
my
we're the
fault.
bad ones.
Yes,
100%.
yes,
Justin
absolutely.
and Mike.
As your new
Fair enough.
bestie, I got your back, girl.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
as a
you.
Canadian, I just want to say I am sorry.
And as a Minnesotan, I appreciate that.
As a New Yorker, get out of my way. And not that actually fit in this conversation, but you know, it's what we have.
Oh well, so that was your number 7. So Jordan, we're up to your number 7 now for 4 points.
That was magic to make the famous man go mad. So we
Oh,
already
of course it
discussed
was.
that.
We
Yep.
did already discuss that. Justin, what was your number 7?
My number 7 was Kobayashi Maru, season 4, episode 1.
Oh, 4 points for Kobayashi Maru. And why was that your number 7?
So I just like where they picked up here in season 4. You know, the whole episode right from the start, they're doing this diplomatic mission. We're back to the Federation. You know, here's some free dilithium, no strings attached, right? And you know, being chased off the planet and like being shot at and all that stuff's happening, and they just leave and they give them the lithium anyway. So Starfleet. And then the plot with the station being out of control, Burnham having the sort of political infighting with the president on her bridge. It was just a great setup for that character, I think. What we were going to sort of expect with her. You could see all the Cardassian and warring with the human, and it was just a great episode, I thought. And the scene with Tilly doing the negotiation, it was
on the
just
station.
Really
cool. Yeah, well, it was good. It was actually my number 4, Kobayashi Maru. I love that episode. It was what I was referring to earlier, where I said that I think Burnham's character is interesting when she can't win everything, and when she kind of has to face that no-win scenario, hence the title. So when she kind of loses some, people on that rescue mission, and she takes it hard, and everything like President Rilek is trying to teach her that she eventually takes in, and what the two women teach each other throughout that episode. Again, just fantastic couple of performances bouncing off each other that talking, about what the finer points of the plot and morality. And I loved all of that. I thought for me, it was the moment that Burnham's captaincy really locked in. And I was like, okay, now I get this. Yeah, she came into her own in that one. I thought there were some great Star Trek type lessons. I thought the rescue mission on Deep Space, whatever it was actually really cool. And one of those things that looked fantastic. We've talked a lot about the special effects being great. And I thought that was a good example of that. And again, the episode's shocking ending. It ends with the destruction of, spoiler alert, the entire Quaishon planet.
Oh, devastating.
Oh, painful. It's actually on my list.
Okay, what number?
6.
Oh, number 6.
It was so good. I think the fact that they didn't spare that planet, a book's planet, really put it over the top for me, because I felt like, as a main character, you would think that him and his planet, nice and safe, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't. They went for it. And I thought that was great. I loved Tilly and her negotiation skills. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Was it on your list, Jordan?
It was not. I do really like that episode, but it was not on my list.
Cool. Fair enough. Any last thoughts then on Kobayashi Maru before we move along?
Yeah, the tension actually when between the president and Burnham on the bridge, and the whole time you're waiting for her to say, "Well, I'm the president," and she doesn't. I just wanted to comment back to that, because it was just so well done.
Absolutely, yeah. I love both of those actresses and characters as well, so they work very well together. Awesome. Well, I don't need to give you my number 7 because we already talked about it. It was Life Itself, the finale. So we'll move to everyone's number 6s. So again, Nita, starting with you, what was your number 6?
There was Kobayashi Maru.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Did you say number 6? Yeah, you did. That's right. So for 5 points, what was your number 6 then, George?
Yeah, so I kind of referenced this earlier, or I foreshadowed it, but my number 6 is Project Daedalus from season 2.
I had a feeling it would be on your list somewhere.
Yes. And it's not, I do love Ariam because of this episode. I love her backstory. I loved her before this. I always latch on to like minor characters and just get obsessed with them. And so when she got her own episode, I was so excited and then was devastated at the end. I think I cried for like an hour after the show or after the episode ended. But yeah, I just love the dilemma that Michael faces at the end of just, everyone's telling me to blow her out the airlock. She's telling me to blow her out the airlock because she can't keep fighting control. And when Ariam looks at her and she says like, I will open this door and I will kill you. You have to do this. Like, it's just so devastating. And I think the choice that Michael makes or doesn't make, however you view it, is really interesting. The fact that, Non is the one that pushed the button.
I think it speaks to both of their characters so well.
It really does. And I feel like it really informs their different, I mentioned earlier, they both bring her up once they're in the 32nd century. And I think it really informs their different types of grief in that situation or after that situation. Yeah, I just love getting to see like Tilly and Detmer and Owo and even Reese and just like their friendships with Ariam and how you just get a sense of how deep those friendships are, even though you don't get to see very much of them. So yeah, I just absolutely adore this episode.
Awesome. Yeah. Did anyone else have Project Daedalus on the list? It wasn't on mine, I have to say. It was just not something I considered. I don't think
it was not on my list, but I definitely agree with everything that was said about it because I think it was such a beautiful moment. Really showed camaraderie because Burnham was not able to do what she needed to do because she was just not capable of that kind of outright, unprovoked kind of level murder. But here comes the security officer with a whole different perspective and training as to doing what needs to be done to protect the overall Federation and the ship. And, it was actually quite beautiful.
I think I always just felt a little bit bitter towards it because I love that the episode explored Ariam in such detail, but as soon as it happened, I was like, well, she's going to die. Clearly, because we have nothing on these, slightly lesser bridge crew, and we're suddenly learning a lot about them. It's like, we know what's going to happen now. So, yeah, didn't appreciate that, I don't think. What about you, Justin? Was it on your list?
It wasn't. I wish I had given it a little more time than I did, though. Just having heard everything you said, didn't remember it being a great episode, so I didn't want to watch it again. And now I'm thinking that maybe I was unfair.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, same. I mean, maybe I should have given it a bit more consideration, but I still think there would have been others I would rank higher. So in that case, what was your number 6, Justin?
My number 6 was season 5, episode 6, Whistle Speak.
Ooh, okay. Well, we talked about that in honorable mentions.
I left it off because it wasn't the list, right? I really like the world building in this episode that they do on the arid planet there. The reason for the towers being there, how it's sort of devolved from a technological society into this, well, quite primitive one, frankly. And then I just the race at the end with Tilly, and I just loved oh, no, that's it. I'm gonna push forward and do it, even if it kills me. Just showed her character so well.
True.
And then the turn at the end when they get there and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna die." Oh, yeah. What? Oh no. So yeah, and then I actually enjoyed the ending as well quite much when Father, are we with the gods? Or sorry, are you with the gods as well? And he just starts explaining it all to her, and yeah, it's just it was a great episode, I thought.
Cool. I think I'm probably going to end up appreciating that a lot more when I give it a rewatch, but it wasn't on my list because season 5 I think I've said this before, it came off a lot like doing an orienteering quest, which I'm never fond of. Where it's like, find a clue. Now you find the second clue. Now you find it. And I was like, oh God, we're doing this, are we? But yeah, I think I should have given that episode more consideration, probably. So,
see,
did anyone else?
Liked season 5 a lot for that reason, though, and not the clue race thing, but the season itself. There was a lot of just different parts of Trek, like and dealing with different situations. That overarching theme was there, but the episodes themselves were a lot more contained.
Yeah. I probably should have appreciated it more as a Doctor Who fan because it was very Key to Time. If you're a fan, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like individual things, but they make up one overarching story if you watch it together.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
But yeah. Nita, was that on your list, by the way? It's the only person that hasn't mentioned it.
No, that
Okay.
is not on my list. But
Well,
it's a really, I did enjoy the episode for sure.
Cool. Well, I'll move to my number 6 then for 5 points. My number 6 is the season 2 episode, If Memory Serves. I don't know if you know this about me. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but I'm a big original series nerd. Never seems to come up. And so seeing kind of them return to Talos 4 and the Telosians from that original pilot, seeing Spock return to that planet and seeing Vina again, I would have already been on board with that, but then really cool stuff like revealing that Spock has kind of the Vulcan equivalent of dyslexia, I think adds so much to that character and makes it so much more meaningful for a lot of people who may have already loved the character and his kind of struggles to fit in and interact. Yeah, I love the ongoing stuff with Culber and Tyler that's going on in the background on the ship itself. The stuff with Giorgio and Control, I think, feeds in really well. And it's the episode in which we first see the 3 red dots appear in Ariam's eye that will lead to the kind of tragedy of Project Daedalus that we've mentioned. So it's an episode that does it all right for me. I love that it stops and gives Pike and Vina a moment on the ship. I love the kind of funny ending when they think they've captured them and haven't. Yeah, and as I said, just it's Telosians and Spock and that singing little flower and everything. So yeah, I love If Memory Serves. So was that on anyone else's list then?
It was not on mine.
No, it wasn't on mine.
Oh, I'm gutted. I thought that was an episode that might have made somebody else's list, but that's okay.
It did not make my list, but I do appreciate the throwback to the TOS era, as you said, because I am a TOS. I'm originally a TOS Star Trek fan, so I definitely appreciate the homage.
Absolutely. I just love the cage. It's one of my favorite episodes of all the Trek as well, even though it didn't air for a long time. But anyway, cool. So we'll move to everyone's number 5s then for 4 points. And we'll start with you, Nita, again.
Season 3, episode 11, Sukal.
6 points.
I
Sukal.
love that episode because it gave Colbert an opportunity to do something other than be a doctor and be a part of this adventure that he was going on, because after he died and came back, he really did change. And I think that this episode really provided us with a glimpse of what that change really meant.
Absolutely, and that was the one where they all are on the holographic environment as different species or something. Am I thinking of the right one? Yeah.
Yes.
And then obviously you get the reveal of Sukal and the responsibility for the burden that's been going throughout the season. So yeah, I think that reveal just proved a bit too controversial for me to include it because not many people tended to like it. And the episode, I think, was just a little bit too weird. I didn't quite understand the need to have them all be different alien species and inside of this environment. But there are some great moments. I think Saru's conversations with Sukal, weirdly kind of beautiful and profound, but there was just too much bizarre, I wasn't quite sure what was going on stuff for me. But did the episode make your list, you other two?
No,
it didn't. I really liked that episode, but it did not make my list.
Fair enough.
My favorite part about that episode is actually seeing Doug Jones out of makeup.
Yes, definitely. Yes, absolutely. That's a good point. Actually, I never thought of that. But yeah, cool. So yeah, any last thoughts on that then, Nita, or shall I move to Jordan?
Nope, we can move on. Definitely.
Awesome. So Jordan, you're number 5, please, for 6 points. I should have said not 4, 6 points.
Yeah, it was Species 10C, so we already discussed that one.
We've already had that. That's cool. So Justin, what about you? What was your number 5?
My number 5 was season 2, episode 2, New Eden.
Oh, so we've already talked about it.
Oh,
yes.
Did we? Oh,
Yes.
shoot.
It was my number 7.
It was her number 7, but that's
You
fine.
know what? I was lost in my notes then, and okay. That's on me.
That's fine. What did so quickly? Just what reason did you have, or have we already talked about your reasons for putting New Eden on the list?
I Pike taking command. His kindler, gentler approach was nice and refreshing. Felt more Starfleet. The General Order 1 handling of the New Knights, playing at their biases by Burnham in the face of her objections to the captain's orders. The scientist at the end getting his closure. Actually, I really like that scene where they're just like, "Yes, you're right. We're from Earth. Here's the truth." And nobody's gonna believe you,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was just a really good episode. And then the line, "If you're telling me this ship can skip across the universe on a highway made of mushrooms, I kind of have to go on faith."
I love that line. I always remembered that. I didn't realize it was from that episode, but yeah, I love that. Awesome. Cool. Well, we've talked about that, I think, all the rest of us in depth. So I'll move to my number 5. My number 5 is the season 2 episode, The Sound of Thunder. It's a writing duo that I really love, Bo Yeon Kim and Erica Lippold, who do great work in those first few seasons, especially with Saru's character. And this is his origin story. Again, shout out to the short trek that came beforehand, whose name I cannot remember and should. But yeah, there was a short trek that kind of briefly dealt with it. And then this episode came along and did all the flashbacks. We meet
The Brightest Star.
The Brightest Star. It was. Thank you. Wow,
I just impressed myself.
I know, right? Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, that's a very brief, short exploration of Saru's past, and this introduces in the show properly, his father and the kind of ritual culling of the Kelpian people, his sister, the kind of the tragedy of the life he was living under the Ba'ul, and then what happened when Starfleet came and, he saw hope beyond the stars, which I love. But also coupled with that, the big reveal of, the Ba'ul and the Kelpians' actual place in things, that they thought they were the predator and they're actually the prey and they're keeping them subjugated, and they completely turn that on its head, which I just love. That's a very Star Trek-y thing, and it absolutely blows my mind. We're dealing with Saru's, Vaharai, which is, he's the first Kelpian in an age to go through that and know that it's not fatal and, lose his fear glands or whatever the heck they're called. I forget now. So I like that it's still dealing with things like that have character impact. And yeah, just one final thing, just the design of the Ba'ul, truly terrifying, even though they're just kind of like armors, I suppose. But there's something weird about the fact that they're almost a humanoid shape, but there's nothing recognizable in them. So there's nothing you can relate to. They're just a pool of goo. And you're like, God, these things are terrifying. What the heck? Also, I love the design of their ships, because I always love when people remember that in space, it doesn't matter how aerodynamic you are. So their spaceships are just big, tall brick things pointing upwards, basically. Well, it doesn't matter, does it? So, yeah. Anyway, so did anyone else have The Sound of Thunder on their list?
I did not.
I did
not. But now I'm thinking about Armis and I want to watch it again.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic episode because we get to see, Saru's people and the lack of development that they were not being allowed to have.
Yes.
And the true nature of who they really are. That's a fantastic.
And I do remember being thrilled because it seemed like it was dealing with all of that and leaving the season plot in the background. But then at the very end, the Red Angel turns up on Kaminar, and Saru gets the kind of clearer look at it as well. So I remember just feeling like, yay, it's still in the background there, still happening. So yeah. So I think we're up to everyone's number 4s now. So Nita, we'll start with you. What was your number 4?
Yes. My number 4 was Stormy Weather, season
yes,
4,
thank you.
Episode 6. That was a fantastic episode, and what I thought made it fantastic to me is that it really centered around Book, and it gave him a chance to reunite with someone from his past who wasn't exactly a good person, but not a bad person. He's sort of one of those characters that his behavior and way of thinking was influenced by the circumstances in his life, and everything is not so peachy and beautiful in this episode, and I love that about it.
It's weird because that's like the subplot of the episode, so that wasn't the main thing that I was thinking of when you mentioned the episode itself.
That to me what made the episode.
Can't disagree with that. So I know that it was on your honorable mentions. Is that right, Jordan?
Yeah, it was, and it was so hard for me to leave it off my list. I love the character development for Zora. I love when she sings. I think them being in the void, for lack of a better term, is creepy. Like when they send the Dot 23 out and it like starts screaming, like it sounds like it's screaming. It was just done so well. And yeah, I love everybody goes in the pattern buffer except Michael, and she stays on the bridge. It's just a great episode.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's another one I probably should have considered more of. But again, I do love so much of it. The Zora interaction with Michael, Annabelle Wallace, and Sonequa are good in the episode. I didn't particularly love the book subplot, but that's because I just don't really respond that well to the character of Book, to be perfectly honest. I don't know why. I can't explain it. There's times I think he works best, and it's usually when he's not around Burnham, because it just came off as Captain's boyfriend. Nothing else, I think, for me a lot of the time. But yeah, anyway, not on my list. So was it on your list, Justin, Stormy Weather?
It was not, and I was unfair because all I remembered from it was the singing, and I have this aversion to singing in Trek. Which
That's
I will
fair.
say, Strange New Worlds absolutely reversed. But
Yes.
but yeah, so I didn't even give it any consideration, and I probably should have.
Yeah. Shout out to the effects on that as well when the ship's basically getting pummeled and Burnham's close to death in her spacesuit and the ship's getting torn apart. Really fantastic effects work. I think it was Jonathan Frakes that directed the episode.
It was indeed.
There we go. That would explain.
Every time he directs an episode, it really throws it out of the park. Like, he's really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He's
Mike,
such a
I
good
think
guy.
I think you should tally up Jonathan Frakes episodes in our list just to see how many of them there are.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that because I don't have time. But if anybody else wants to do that,
Well, I know
by all
Far From
means.
Home, Stormy Weather. I'm trying to think of some of the others.
I don't honestly know them off the top of my head. That was one that I just remembered thinking at the time, oh, this is really cool direction, and it's obviously got a bit of a Frakes touch to it. I don't remember the specifics. I mean, he does Strange New Worlds and Picard episodes and everything as well, so remembering them all would take forever. And obviously, back in the day, Next Gen, DS9, Voyager. So, where were we? Everyone's number 4s, is that right? So what was your number 4, Jordan?
My number 4 was season 4, episode Rosetta.
Oh, wow, okay.
I feel like this is kind of a niche one. I don't see it on a lot of people's top 10 lists, but this episode for me is so good. I love when they go down to the planet. They're trying to figure out what exactly is going on. Michael's in her xenoanthropology mode, which I love.
Yeah.
Which episode is it?
It's Rosetta.
Oh, Rosetta. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's right before Species 10C in season 4. And they go down to the planet to try to figure out more about Species 10C.
They get infected by this thing that makes them paranoid or something.
Saru feels fear again, which he is not a fan of. And then Culber and Michael experience it as well. I love Detmer's interactions with them. One of my dream cosplays is those EV suits that they wear in that episode because they are so cool.
Good luck making one of those cheaply.
I know. Yeah, and I think the biocarbons that they finally figure out when they find the nursery and they all experience safety when they let those molecules in to experience the feeling of safety and home and love is just really moving. Yeah, I think it's such a classic Trek feel to me, but it works so well in the season-long arc of the First Contact.
That's weird. I would have slightly argued against that. I think the reason it wouldn't make my list was because, and maybe again I'm being unfair, but for me it felt a bit like treading water when we were just making progress towards communicating. And I now that you've mentioned it, I see it's necessary because it's all about those what do you call them, fluorocarbons, whatever, that actually enable the communication. But at the time, it just felt like we were stopping the momentum to do an almost standalone episode. But again, maybe I should have looked at that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because Tarka makes the same argument that you just made. So
exactly.
For better or worse, Mike, you're basically Tarka.
Good God, no.
I'm just kidding. You're nothing like him.
Look, I was friends with Osric Chow once. It was a long time ago.
I just have to tease you a little bit when we disagree about Discovery.
No, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and just like I said, it was just because I was doing a big Blu-ray rewatch, and I was like, "Ooh, we're getting to the end of the season now, and shit is hitting the fan," and then, oh dear, we're stopping. Okay, but you're right. They do address that in the episode because the whole point is that Tarka's like, "What are we doing?" And it doesn't like Ndoye also is like, we don't have time for this. We need to carry on. Yep. So she kind of also emphasizes that. So I should have, again, maybe looked at it closer. Does anyone else have Rosetta on their list?
So this was a coin flip for my number 10 with Species 10C.
So that would have been the closest to an honorable mention.
The reason I went with number 10C was what you said, Michael. I really did feel like it was treading water. But other than that, it's a great episode.
Was it on your list, Nita, at all?
It was not, but it was a fantastic episode for sure.
So Justin, we're on to you next. What was your number 4?
My number 4 is a two-parter.
Okay.
It's season 2, episode 13-14, Such Sweet Sorrow.
7 points for that.
The line from Philippa Giorgio, Leland, we were just talking about you. Everybody hates you. Congratulations.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
My favorite line from her in the series. And like this to me, it was a movie. I would have paid to see this in the theater, and I wouldn't have felt ripped off at the end.
Not at all.
It was so well done. The special effects were such top quality. The plot was excellent throughout. It was a great episode. 2 episodes, I should say, and the best part of season 2 for sure for me. And it set up the Strange New World spinoff.
Discovery's other future seasons really was set up by that as well. So.
The only complaint I could come up with in it, and it's minor, is the long-winded goodbye between Spock and Burnham when literally everybody's dying around them.
But it was so sad.
I love that too much to criticize it.
That was so sad, though. You can't criticize a brother and sister saying goodbye.
Not just that, but
forever.
The sly oblique reference to Kirk when she's like, reach out and find somebody who can.
Yes.
So
I want to separate.
It did seem a little out of place when they should have been in a hurry and they weren't. Justin, I'll give you that.
Yeah, well, so that's what I'll separate. The goodbye itself is fantastic. Just when it's happening,
badly placed.
Insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's dying. Oh, we're going to take 5 minutes and talk about our feelings.
They're mostly drone shaped. Shush. Well,
lucky thing with Vulcans, all it takes is 5 minutes to talk about feelings.
You've done me up there because I have to say Such Sweet Sorrow Parts 1 and 2 are my number 1. My favorite Discovery episode. I just loved it from the moment I saw it. Like I said, I loved season 2. I think it was good that it was correcting some of the more nerdy things that my Trek-loving mind was here for. So I liked the original series uniforms coming in and Pike and the Enterprise and everything. And I wasn't expecting to see the Enterprise itself. So when it did appear in the finale, it would have been, again, I'd have been happy enough. We saw the original Enterprise. That redesign looks really cool. The bridge is great and everything. But the story itself completely blew me away for all the reasons you said. I thought this is a movie. It's in every way. This is a Star Trek movie. And frankly, it's one of the better ones.
Definitely
I don't love
even number.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. I don't love when Star Trek goes full Star Wars. So I didn't love things like suddenly the Enterprise and everything has these miniature fighter craft that are launching and the dots are all repairing the ships and stuff. But at the same time, it looked undeniably cool. I can't deny that. And I just love the story. And I love that the ultimate solution to the whole Red Angel thing, it was the conclusion of the whole season. You had, like I said, the Enterprise crews. It was, I could be here all day. Cornwall's heroic sacrifice. And ultimately, probably the best line in Star Trek Discovery, Jet Reno, I'm going, get off my ass. Sir, get off my ass, sir. It was my number 1, I have to say. I would have moved to my number 4 next, but we've already talked about it. It was Kobayashi Maru. So we'll start with everyone's number 3s. So for, 8 points, what was your number 3, Nita?
Well, we spoke about it, which was Face the Strange.
Face the Strange. Cool. We'll move on then. So what was your number 3, Jordan?
Yeah, so my number 3 was from season 5. It was the episode Labyrinths.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that one, so you'll have to refresh my memory as to what happened.
That was when they were in the library.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yes. I cannot sing Sonequa Martin Green's praises enough for her performance in that episode. Just seeing Michael Burnham talk about her fear of failure, her fear of failing Book, being close to Book, thinking that she's already failed him, trying to figure out this clue. Where's the clue? What's the clue? What's this test? And just seeing her think she had it figured out and then she was really wrong. Just like the darkness moving in on her as she was running out of time was amazing. I loved the librarian Hyrel. I thought she was such a fun new character.
For once, a book is visiting the library.
Right. Yeah, she was so fun. I loved the scenes that we got with the Breen. Those were amazing as well, as they're catching up with the Discovery and then Rayner trying to buy them more time. David Ajala was amazing as a completely different character, kind of like Culber did in the episode Janal. Like David got to show off his acting chops as well and did amazing. So yeah, that is my top 3 episode of Discovery of all time.
I have to say I actively disliked the episode, but that's just, it's personal preference. I'm not overly fond of the Burnham Book relationship anyway. And again, that was another episode where towards the end of the season, it just felt like, get moving, do something, But I can certainly agree with all your points. I see what you're saying, if you're into that kind of thing. So did any of you other two have Labyrinths on your list?
Actually, it is my number 2.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
So 9 more
Nita,
points.
my
for
bestie.
Besties, besties forever. It
Oh,
was a
I've made
phenomenal
a new
episode.
friend connection here.
Phenomenal episode. I love the fact that they brought in the Klingon, and she was so pretty and so
Klingon?
beautiful that yes, the one in charge.
She's not a Klingon.
Wasn't she Klingon?
She's a Frozen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought she was Klingon. I really thought she might have been a Klingon. Absolutely thought that she might have been a Klingon. I was like, is she Klingon? Like, I wasn't 100% sure, but I thought maybe she was because she was a little aggressive, but not really.
I'll be
But
honest, I thought
loved
she was
how-
Barzan at first until we saw her closer.
Really,
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
she was so phenomenal, this character. But I really thought that the journey that Book and that was going through separate to Burnham was also very important to him as a person, and I think that was something that they did really nicely.
Cool. So did you have that on your list, Justin, at all?
I did not. You know, it's funny. I'm actually in far more agreements with you on that one. Favorite part about that episode was the library itself. I just wanted to go there.
Yeah.
I
And I did like the
too.
green stuff.
Well, you can't.
The
You
library.
can go there.
What, is it a place in Vancouver or something?
I think
We
it's a
don't know
place in.
about?
I think it's in Toronto, the Rare Book Library.
Oh, okay. Oh, fair enough.
Oh, I
Very good.
did not know that.
But do they have a hyper nice alien lady who's not tell you she's gonna throw you in the dungeon?
Not yet.
It depends on whether or not you consider Canadians aliens, I guess.
No, I meant aliens from outer space. Alien.
Yeah.
If she's Canadian, she'd throw you in the dungeon, but then, oh, I'm terribly sorry about this.
Exactly.
Treated so well. But yeah. No, it was not one of my favorites.
Fair
I
enough.
didn't enjoy the prison of the mind part.
So that was your number 3, Jordan, I believe, if I'm keeping us right. So, Justin, what was your number 3 then?
My number 3 was magic to make the sanest man go
Sanest.
mad.
Absolutely, we've talked about that, so I'll just make sure that's got the right points. So yeah, my number 3 then was, again, an episode I thought would be a bit more popular. It was the season 3 episode, Die Trying. I love the introduction to the 32nd century Starfleet. I was wowed, just like they were, by seeing Voyager G and the future ships and the Starfleet headquarters. But it's also a great story. I like the storyline itself about the Seed ship and the kind of Barzan storyline and the ultimate kind of the responsibility that Narn takes on, as you said, which speaks to her character, that she kind of takes the reins of that and will take it back home finally. And yeah, I liked the exploration of that. I like Culber being part of that mission and helping to work all that stuff out. And for all those reasons, I think that was my number 3 for 7 points. So did anyone else have Die Trying on their list in their remaining 3 spots?
No, but I
Yeah,
love
that's it.
that episode.
No, but it was a good episode.
It's such a good
agreed.
episode.
Not good enough because it wasn't on anybody else.
It was on my list.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay.
Justin!
Oh.
Just
Justin, you
politely
saved
waiting
me.
for my turn, guys. It was my number 2.
Your number 2, excellent. See, now we're besties. We get to do the whole thing.
Of course, for all the reasons you've said, I loved it. One of my favorite things about it is just the shock of seeing the Federation in this state, but it's still trying. We have limited resources. We're spread ourselves thin, but we are what we are, and that's never changed. I love that. And of course, we get to meet the character based off of me. So
Which character is that?
Daniels.
Oh, Kovac. I am so slow. Sorry about that. Yeah. Daniel's interaction with Mira Georgia was actually really good in that. Isn't that the episode where she's like, do not try and break down my wickedness to some genetic anomaly? Or
No, it was actually to the hologram, and then she killed him
That's
with her
right.
eyelashes, which was hilarious.
That's right. Absolutely. Oh,
Actually,
brilliant.
my favorite line out of that one was Reno when she said, "What is that? Some sort of Horizon party drug?" When they asked her about the emerald chain.
Yeah. Almost as good as the fact that she did, what was it, 7 of 9's drink or something or other in one of the episodes.
But it was the sort of little mini episode at the end of them going and saving the Barzan. Well, not saving, sorry, but helping the Barzan family that was dealing with the Seed ship.
On the Tikov, yeah.
Great episode.
Love it. Well, we're clearly in agreement. If it's my number 3, your number 2, so we both love it. And we are both correct, of course. So that's...
Always smart to agree with the host.
I'm the captain, damn it. Anyway, so, yeah. So that's cool. We'll move to everyone else's number 2 then, because we've heard yours. So what was your number 2 for 9 points, Nita?
Well, it was Labyrinth.
That's right. We've talked about Labyrinth already, and I've given that the points. Have we talked about your number 2 already, Jordan?
We have not.
Go for it.
So my number 2 is the season 3 premiere, The Hope Is You, part 1.
Okay, cool. So that's 9 points for that.
Oh, yes, that's a good one.
That starts off with Lieutenant Sahil. We don't know his name yet, but you see his alarm clock going off. We see programmable matter, but we don't know what it is yet, which was just really, really amazing. And then Michael crash lands on the planet. And that moment when she discovers that life exists there, organic life exists, and just like starts screaming was so satisfying. And I mentioned this on other podcasts, but not this one. I didn't start watching Discovery until a few years after it had already come out. So I watched seasons 2 and 3 back to back. I didn't have, the long wait to discover what happened when they got to the future, but it was the end of season 2 was so emotionally hyped for me. To then have it pay off at the beginning of season 3 was amazing. And then, she gets to meet Book. I love kind of the chase scene. I love Molly the Transworm. I love Grudge.
Everyone loves Grudge. She's a queen.
Yeah. Just getting to see kind of that market. I love when they drug Michael and she's like, do not give this to my red-haired friend. I can't stop talking. That was hilarious. I just love the final scene. They go and meet Sahil and he asks her to raise the flag. And I cry every time when she says, you are as Starfleet officer as they get. It's like, will you accept this commission? I cry every single time. That Hope Is You, part 1, is my second favorite Discovery episode of all time.
Just to be contrary, I actively hate that episode. I remember disliking it the moment I saw it because I just didn't appreciate the decision to not feature the whole crew and to only focus on Burnham, because I really wanted to know what happened because we'd waited so long about the whole arriving in the future thing. And there's just things in it that
you had to wait a long time? Michael had to wait a whole year for them to show up.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I
think that's partly why I like Far From Home, because it deals more with their actual arrival and has everyone in it. But
here's the thing. It is the arrival. The official arrival is when Burnham shows up because she's the one leading the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The one high point of the episode for me was the life. I agree with everything you're saying.
Girls got to do girls got to do to survive.
Yeah, it was either at that point it was kill or be killed, and I don't agree with her doing that, but we don't know that weapon the only weapon she had access to, we don't know that it had a stun setting.
And here's the question: what would any of us do in that situation? Kill or be killed? I will take both you boys down if I have to. I love you guys, but I'm gonna take you down. But I mean, in no reality, we do desperate things in desperate times, and she honestly didn't know if the Federation was gonna make it.
And she was still
her ship.
She was still so traumatized from everything that had just happened. Like, she'd only been in the future for like a couple hours at that point and had just found out that the Federation supposedly didn't exist anymore. That woman was experiencing so much trauma and she was in survival mode.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't disagree with everything you're saying, but I still think, if it was outside of the science fiction setting and it was basically somebody arrives in a new port or whatever, meets a complete stranger who hands them a gun and says, these people are chasing me, kill them, and they just go, all right then, and start doing it.
They were shooting at Book and Burnham first. They were running for their lives.
They started.
Yeah. I don't buy it.
Trusted Book. That's the key here, right?
I'm assuming it's not on your list, Justin. Was it on your list at all, then, Nita?
No, that one was not.
But you do appreciate it anyway, so that's fine.
Absolutely, it's a fantastic episode.
So, Justin, did we have your number 2 yet? We did, didn't we?
Yes. We did, yeah. Season 3, episode 5, Die Trying, absolutely. So my number 2 is an episode that I cannot believe hasn't cropped up on anybody else's list either, because again, I thought it would be more popular. I adore the episode. It's the season 4 episode, All Is Possible, which is the episode with Tilly and the cadets, basically. That's the A plot anyway, where Tilly, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is basically a backdoor pilot for Starfleet Academy. Or that's how I certainly viewed it as soon as they announced that show was happening. I love everything with Tilly and Adira and the various cadets and the differences and, the way they all clash because of the events of the burn and the Emerald Chain, and yet they're all made to work together to escape the situation. It just feels very Star Trek. But I also love the B plot, where it's about negotiating Navarre's final entry into the Federation and how they basically use Burnham for that kind of last final, that
we're going to clash on this final thing because the logic extremists don't agree and whatever, and only Burnham would have been able to negotiate as both a Starfleet officer and Spock's sister. So I kind of appreciated all that, and I thought those negotiations were very well handled and well acted as well. But it was really, for me, it was all about just seeing Tilly take the lead, come into her own, realize her place at the end of the episode was, not on a ship aiming for captaincy as she thought it was going to be teaching people. And yeah, I loved all of that. So I'm assuming nobody else happens to have that on their list in their one position remaining.
No, not me.
Sorry.
You are
Not
also
a big fan of that episode, actually.
I, in rebuttal, have to say you limited me to 10.
I'm curious why you don't like the episode, Jordan. That surprises me.
I don't dislike it. It just was kind of boring to me.
Okay, well, fair enough. Different strokes, I suppose. What was that? Everyone's number 2s. So we're up to everyone's number 1s, and I think we've basically heard, I think, almost everyone, if not everyone's. I gave you mine. It was Such Sweet Sorrow. Nita, did we discuss your number 1?
Yes, we did. Life Itself is number 1 for me. I thought the ending was phenomenal, and it was definitely the best.
Did we discuss your number 1 yet, Jordan?
We have not.
No.
My favorite episode of Discovery is Unification Part 3.
Okay, cool. It's a popular episode, and again, it's the one that I thought would have come up more, even if I'm not a huge fan of it myself.
Yeah.
For the reasons we talk about in the episode, which, if you want to know, go listen. We did
a full review. I was very torn about my number 1, but I ultimately chose this one because with Discovery's serialization, I think this episode is just the epitome of Michael's character arc on her way to being captain. Season 1, she has her reasons for not trusting, or mostly not trusting herself. She thinks that she's not worthy of the Federation because of her mutiny. She's not worthy to be an officer because of her mutiny. Season 2, she's kind of feeling it out, learning her place again, and they jump to the future. And then she starts questioning the Federation, which she's never really done before. That's really new to her. That was, even when she herself she wasn't sure about herself, she was still sure about the Federation. And so in season 3, when that happens, she doesn't really know what to do. And she has to face that head on in Unification Part 3 with the help of her mom. And so I feel like Unification Part 3 and where she finally gets to by the end of the episode, she's finally ready to be the captain that Giorgio told her that she was ready to be in the Vulcan Hello. And that's just such a beautiful 2.5 season arc.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I also love a good courtroom drama. And so when you couple those things together and getting to see her mom again for the first time in the 32nd century, all those things together, I love this episode so much, and I've watched it so many times.
Oh, cool. As I say, I would recommend, if you are listening to this and you want a further in-depth exploration, we did review the episode. Myself and Jordan were on that episode with DK. And again, I don't hate the episode, as I said, in the review, the podcast review, but it just didn't quite connect with me in the same way. But I love that it did with you, and it's great that, that's your number 1 episode. Cool.
Yeah, it really is. Which is awesome. Funny, because it's like right in the middle of the whole series, basically. That's
a good point. Yeah, it is pretty much the exact middle point when you think, yeah. Cool. We talked about your number 1, didn't we, Justin? Or am I confusing myself here?
No, we did. There is a Tide, season 3, episode 12.
There is a Tide. That's right. Absolutely. Cool. Well, then we've had everyone's lists. That's everyone's top 10. So it's going to be my job to go away and collate those and try and come up with a top 10 list. So in the meantime, I'm going to hand it over to my faithful number 1, Jordan, who I think has the audience's responses when asked. Basically, I just asked generally, are you a general fan of Discovery? Do you have any favorite episodes? Are there any that you'd like to shout out? And could you potentially give a top 3, top 5, top 10? So some of them have given like big lists. Some of them just, I think, shout a couple of episodes out. Over to you, Jordan, if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you. So we just want to give a big shout out to the Facebook groups where all of these responses came from. We want to give a shout out to Star Trek VIP Nerd Lounge, Holodeck 4, Star Trek Forever, Red Shirts and Runabouts, which I love that name, Red Shirts and Runabouts, and then Star Trek Family. So thank you for all chiming in. And then we have quite a few responses that I'm going to read. From Alexander, we have Discovery is my fave Trek, and agrees with me. Unification 3 and the Time Bug episodes are my top 2. And then Peter Cook chimed in and said, even though the first 2 seasons got a hammering because of the Klingon change, I thought it held more Trek, especially into the 3rd season. 4th and 5th seasons just felt like one long average film. So that was Peter's thoughts. Taylor Frankovich gave us favorite episodes from every season. So here are their responses. Just off the top of my head, they said, from season 1, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. Season 2, If Memory Serves. So agreed with Mike on that one. Season 3, Unification 3, Terra Firma Parts 1 and 2, and That Hope Is You Parts 1 and 2. Yeah, we didn't really talk about any Mirror Universe episodes, so it's exciting to see that in the comments. And then from Season 4, Choose to Live. And Season 5, Janal, Face the Strange, Whistlespeak, Lagrange Point, which we didn't discuss, and Life Itself. Gabriel Phoenix had a lot to say. So they said, it's hard to say exactly what my favorite episodes are, but there are moments I have loved. Like in Season 1, where Lorca is a bit of a hit and overrides one of the spore jumps, and the reveal about the Red Angel. There have been some simply excellent moments with Saru, and his development as a character has been brilliant. And the brand new take on a spore jump, where the Discovery wasn't doing the actual jump, may have been one of the most gloriously absurd moments I have seen in Star Trek, and it was worth it. B. Rob Rowe agrees with Unification Part 3. They listed that. And then John Allen Oxlade said, I just rewatched Season 2, and the last 2 episodes have so much emotion in them, portrayed superbly, that it's hard to fault. The crew recording their goodbyes before going to the future brought tears to my eyes. Superb, just like Justin had mentioned in his review. Robert William Graham says that his favorite episode is If Memory Serves, which goes back to the cage. And then Jonathan Coolidge says, it's a tough pick, but seeing Saru go from prey to predator was nice, and the season finales for 3 and 4 were very satisfying. I loved the Season 5 time jump, a great way of showing just how far everyone had come, and kind of a shout out to TNG's All Good Things. But Reunification Part 3 has to be on the list. I absolutely agree, Jonathan. He also said, I appreciate how Disco added to Trek's lore. They could have been another nostalgia grab, but instead they used Trek's rich history in ways that made sense, giving us answers to things like the ultimate fate of the Romulans after the Empire fell, or what the Breen looked like. They did a stellar job projecting Trek into the 32nd century. Rasil Jomny Garrison said, since it's more linear, it's difficult to rate episodes. Totally agree with that. We all struggled to just pick 10. They said revising Harry Mudd was interesting, and I guess any 2 episodes from the incursion into the Mirror Universe would be a good starting point, especially the one with Tilly as captain versus her normal frightened ensign self, attempting to show authority. It really showed her range. The series finale had some great features and nice special effects, and we all knew it was the end of the series and would work out. Robin R. Huizinga said, I love Face the Strange. Burnham seeing her own evolution was great. It also created a better connection with Rayner for Burnham and audiences. There are so many from past seasons too many to list. Sounds like Robin would be besties with Nita and I, loving Face the Strange. Evo Haming said, favorite episodes include the martial arts scene with Michelle Yeoh and Sonequa about halfway through the series, the start of Season 3 maybe, and pretty much anything with Adira and Jet getting snarky and silly and nerdy. Evo loves all the episodes with Grudge. Yeah, we didn't talk about Grudge too much, but love Grudge. Matt Davies also gave us some episodes for each season. So Season 1, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. Season 2, If Memory Serves, and New Eden. Season 3, That Hope Is You, Part 1, especially when they raise the flag. Yep, I cry every time. And There Is a Tide. Justin, you're number 1. Matt agrees with you. Season 4, they said Choose to Live. Season 5, they said was okay as a season, but they didn't have any standouts. Gary Pearson said it turned out to be a good launch to get into Strange New Worlds. And John Wiss said, I'd like a spinoff where Jet Reno runs an illegal speakeasy off the engine room. Nita, does that jive with your looking for a love interest for Jet Reno? Maybe they run
I think so. I think that would work.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have Sarah Battersby LeBaron said, they gave us the actual top 10. So I'm going to go, they listed it 1 to 10, but I'm going to try to read this backwards. So number 10 was But to Connect. Number 9, Kobayashi Maru. Number 8, Unification 3. Number 7, Forget Me Not, with Adira Tal speaking their names. Oh, such a good moment. Number 6, That Hope Is You Part 1. And they specifically called out Mr. Sahil. Said, Mr. Sahil broke my heart when he asked Burnham to raise the flag, and she gave him a field commission on the spot so he could raise the flag. Y'all, I cried so hard and cheered, and my heart got too entirely huge for my chest. Absolutely, Sarah. Same. Number 5 for her was If Memory Serves. Number 4, I don't think we mentioned on our list at all, An Oboe for Charon.
No, we didn't mention. What did you just mentioned it before? But to Connect, which I also like as well.
Yeah, that's right. They also had Sarah had Vaulting Ambition, So
Mirror Universe.
Mirror Universe. Such a good episode. Number 2 for Sarah was Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. She said Rain was perfect for Harry Mudd. And number 1, Justin, I believe this was on your list. Context is for Kings.
Yes.
Yeah. So then we have Derek Mayer agrees with Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. Derek says it's still probably my favorite single episode of the series. I'm a sucker for time travel stories, and I thought Rainn Wilson really nailed the role, like we talked about earlier. It's a fantastic one-off episode that showed a lot of potential. I also truly loved If Memory Served, which is a tie into The Cage. I thought it was a remarkable way to show off our new Enterprise and her crew iterations, as well as provide additional details on the series' original plot. Just a few more comments here. So we have Carrie Irvin, who said, so many tears in the end. I love the show so much. Dallas Reinhardt said, if I was to pick one standout episode, it would have to be Unification Part 3. Yes. He says, it wasn't just about the unification. It also put the character of Burnham on trial. Yes, absolutely, Dallas. Layla Yoder said, Lethe, New Eden, The Sound of Thunder, Light and Shadows. Ooh, Light and Shadows, another Ash Tyler episode.
And a couple of my choices in there, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally, Mike. That's, yeah. Yes, you're right. Layla also said Unification 3, Su'Kal, like Nita had shouted out. The Examples, which we didn't talk about.
Oh, I also like that one, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Species 10C, Face the Strange and Whistle Speak. And then the last comment I'm going to read, Eric Chung has, I think, 10 episodes with a little detail about each one. So I'll go in order here. So it says, Eric says, choose your pain, where we first meet Ash Tyler. Sorry, that's my own little aside. Eric,
that was editorializing.
I'm sorry. I'll stop editorializing about Ash Tyler. Okay, so choose your pain. Eric said it's when it's clear that the show is definitely upholding Trek values as Burnham saves Ripper by arguing for his life. Then Eric chose Lethe, says the first time in 50 years that we got Sarek's side of the story in the Sarek-Spock feud that predates Journey to Babel. Mike, you had mentioned that as well. We didn't mention this episode, but this should have been one of my honorable mentions. CV Patch and Parabellum. Eric says the Pavans are truly Trekkian species along the lines of the Organians or the Metrons. Absolutely. I love that episode. And not just because we get to see Ash and Michael kiss again. So I'm sorry. I need to stop talking about Ash Tyler. I promise I'm going to. Looking at the rest of Eric's picks, there's no more Ash references, so it's fine. Eric then picked Forget Me Not. The A story is a riff on The Visitor. The B story has the crew gradually come together, and it introduces Buster Keaton to Star Trek. Unification 3, Eric says it's the turning point for Michael, in which she finally learns to be more transparent and less of a martyr. The lessons she learns here guides the way she captains. Eric then chose There Is a Tide, saying it's a showcase of Discovery's skill at depicting nuanced negotiations when Vance and Osira discuss a merger between the United Federation of Planets and the Emerald Chain, just like Mike and Justin had talked about earlier. That really pivotal scene where they negotiate. I'll never look at an apple another way. All right, and so then Eric picked But to Connect, says another showcase of Discovery's negotiation skills, this time with both the A and B stories. One about how rigorous data gathering and good faith negotiation should win out over preemptive strikes born of vengeance and fear, and the other about the rights of emergent intelligent life in the form of Zora.
I do love that episode, actually.
I know, it's such a good one. And then Eric also called out Species 10C. Says the rigorous data gathering gets a hard sci-fi sheen with Medi and Linkos techniques, showing how the season is a riff on TOS's The Devil in the Dark, which I think is a really good point. And then this feels so fitting. So the last episode that Eric calls out is Life Itself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Eric says, as with previous seasons, a nice ending in which doing the right thing is hard but necessary. And the wedding and coda were beautiful.
Agreed.
All right. Fantastic. So that's all of our audience participation. Some really great stuff there.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who contributed. It was really nice to hear some from actual Discovery fans instead of everyone just going, "No, I don't like it, it's not canon, whatever." So that was good. Nice to see that we have some like-minded people. And thank you to Jordan for taking the hosting reins for those few minutes and doing a fantastic professional job. Thank you.
Thank you. I need to know what the results are, Mike.
I have the results in my hand. I have in my hand a piece of paper. I have to say it is not a top 10 because there were several ties. So what we've ended up with is a top 12. You know, more chance of your favorite episode, I suppose, making it into the list. So if you bear with me, or if we can edit in a drum roll. So at number 10 on our overall list is 3 different episodes. That's how we've ended up with the top 12. And I'm just going to do them in the order that they came in the series. So, that there's no bias. It's just literally I'm going chronologically. So the number 10 3 episodes are New Eden, That Hope Is You Part 1, and All Is Possible. At joint number 8, we have 2 episodes again, and that's Unification Part 3 and Face the Strange. At number 7 is the episode There Is a Tide. Number 6 is Magic to Make the Sanest Mind Go Mad. Joint number 4, 2 episodes again, and that is Kobayashi Maru and Life Itself. And we have a 3-way tie for number 1. So at joint number 1 are Such Sweet Sorrow, Die Trying, and Labyrinths.
Woo!
So, and I think the biggest takeaway I have from here is just how many blooming great episodes of Discovery there actually are. Even though there's a couple that I disliked, the more we talked about them, the more I'm like, you know what? There's loads of great episodes. I want to do a full series rewatch now more than ever. So hopefully that's the same for you as well. Yeah, that's rounded it up. So is everybody happy with that list? Do you think it's quite representative?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think there's a little bit of every season and a little bit of something for everyone in there. So
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. I think it works.
Yeah, I thought it was a very well-rounded list.
Yes,
Considering how
absolutely.
many episodes there are, I was actually surprised how much overlap we had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, I did think there would probably be a lot of ties, but a lot less than I thought. But that's the joy of Trek. There's something for everyone, So, yeah, absolutely. So with that, we nestle safely into a nebula, power down, and wait for someone to come across us later. Hopefully not in 1,000 years, though, as we're actually going to be back on September the 15th with a brand new mini-series of weekly episodes. Our theme this time around could be fun, hopefully, as we're looking at Trek's most reviled and controversial episodes. Everything from transporter merging to ghostly sex candles and beyond.
Oh, fun.
So be sure to tune in for that.
That will be fun.
And, absolutely. So it just remains for me to say thank you so much to my intrepid crew of discoverers here. Thank you to you, Nita. Where can people find you in the Sci-Fi Queens project? Podcast. Sorry.
Well, they can find us on either Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, or Threads, all under Sci-Fi Queens, and on YouTube, and we're now on Spotify, also Sci-Fi Queens. And our next episode will be August 23rd, and we're going to be talking about and reviewing the latest Planet of the Apes movies.
Awesome. We've discussed that offline because we are big Apes heads.
Yes.
And you did join us for the Planet of the Apes original review on the Silver Screen podcast, which you can check out on our sister podcast. Quick plug for that one. So yeah, awesome. Cool. What about you, Jordan? Thanks, first of all, for being here again to talk all things Ash Tyler and occasionally Discovery. And where can people find you?
Well, since we're talking about it, I'll shout out my Ash Tyler fanfic on AO3. If you want to read my Ash Tyler fanfic, I'm at Jordan La Fordan on there. But on the social medias, you can find me on Mastodon. I'm Jordan La Fordan at 10ford.social. I'm on Blue Sky as Jordan La Fordan, Instagram as Jordan La Fordan, and YouTube as Jordan La Fordan.
Awesome. Thanks again for joining us. Hopefully it's been a nice return trip for you, Justin, to the podcast. And where can people find you online?
Please don't.
See, now I'm going to go looking for you.
You'll get on so well with DK, which is what he says to me every week when I ask this question. Like, no, don't bother. Fair enough. Well, hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast again at some point soon anyway. Then, and because I genuinely, really, it was a joy talking to you again and hearing your views on Trek, and the dedication of you to go and look at these episodes was much appreciated. So thank you.
I really enjoyed being here and love to come back.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep you all in mind, and hopefully we'll hear from you all again soon. Keep your subspace frequencies tuned for that oncoming series of, like I said, controversial or not beloved Trek episodes. And in the meantime, just remember, we are Starfleet in any century. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
You have been listening to the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast, hosted by Michael Wilson. Please remember to like this episode and spread it throughout subspace. Subscribe to the Hit or Miss YouTube channel and follow us online. Links to all of our social media pages can be found via the link tree listed in the episode's description. For any queries or to apply to be a guest on the show, you can also email homstartrek@gmail.com. This podcast is part of the Mike's Podcasts Network. You can listen to this and our sister podcasts on all good podcast providers by searching for Mike's Podcasts. Hit or Miss podcast was based on an idea by Michael Wilson and Will Templer. Thank you for joining us. We hope you'll be back, but for now, hailing frequencies closed.
Better warp out of here at once, maximum speed.